What's up, music fans? My name is Jackson. Today I'm going to react to Danger Doom, The Mouse and the Mask by MF Doom. So I've taken a break from the MF Doom reactions and I'm returning to them now, and I kind of want to explain that a little bit, but first let me talk about Danger Mouse. I know Danger Mouse has some producing credits for Gorillaz, and I think he has one on Demon Days, but I haven't really heard anything else from this guy, so I'm pretty excited to, add another producer to the catalog of guys that I really enjoy, because I'm sure that if Doom worked with him, he's got a lot of talent. But obviously the reason I'm listening to this project is to hear more Doom, and I took a break from the MF Doom reactions just because there's a few reasons. The first one being that I was getting a lot of criticism for just continuing to pump out MF Doom content, and I promise you guys that that was just because I was interested in Doom, not because I was trying to capitalize off of the views from his death. But I know that a lot of people aren't going to believe me, and that's okay. All I can do is just tell the truth, and it really was that I was captivated by his rhyme scheme, what he was rhyming about, and the fact that he was able to spit so many lines about simple things but make it into really great and larger than life songs. And really, I just found myself interested in the lore of this character MF Doom and the way that he uses Victor Vaughn to synergize with his main alias, and then kind of the way he builds this world around his music, and it makes you so much more invested in it because you feel like you take something from it, even if the stuff, again, that he's rapping about isn't that important. So that was why right after I did Mad Villainy, I listened to Food and I listened to Vaudeville Villain, and then I did Born Like This as well. And it was interesting to see the Doom character go from a lot more cartoonish to, at Born Like This, that was one of the darkest hip-hop albums that I've heard. And that brings me to the second reason why I stopped the Doom reactions, and that's because I was so content with what I had already been given from him that I felt like if I listened to more of his music, I wouldn't be able to appreciate it fully. Doom's music is like something that you can just take layer by layer, and every time you listen to one of his albums, you get something new from it. And I felt like I needed to really just take time with his albums to fully understand and digest them before I could listen to another project. And I finally feel like I'm in a place where I'm comfortable with that, and I can consider myself a diehard MF Doom fan. But as always, I talk too much, so let's just get into the first track, which is going to be El Chupa Libre. But as always, I talk too much, and let's just get into the first song and we'll get to really enjoy this music together. The first track's going to be El Chupa Libre.
The super flow with more jokes than Bazooka Joe, a mix between Superfly Snooker and the Super Hole. True MC like El Chupa Libre, digest a group and sell the poop on eBay. State your intentions. I really love your tape, but I hate your inventions. Very well. What you want, a brownie? He took off the mask and whispered, "Put me where you found me." He kept his paper digits in a chunk. What we have here is a failure to communicate. If you're gonna hate, might at least get your rumors straight about Doom the Great. A lot more confident. Came a long way since the days we had to rhyme for rent. It was time well spent. Invented, spelt, invented, hell bent it, and heaven sent it.
And man, just the first track, and we're right back in the thick of it. The way he's able to take silly things and rhyme them together and use this almost like talk flow, but it doesn't sound like it is because he fits so many words in one line. I don't know exactly what that instrumental was, but I love how it looped on different pitches, like wah, 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 and then just a simple boom bap beat. There wasn't too many drums on that song, and I like when Doom does that. I think the lack of drums or bass is what makes him really stand out. My favorite line was definitely the throwback to the days where we had to rhyme for rent, because it really does show how far Doom has come, because he's pretty much one of the best rappers in the world at this point, and he was still really underground at 2005. His albums didn't get appreciated until a lot later, but I love how the cult following he had then was able to support him in this way and give him this extreme confidence that he had. Track 2 is Sofa King.
Sofa King. Scared of a bunch of water and get out the rain. A wink is as good as a nod to a blind horse. Of course, his technique was from a divine
what was that
source.
line?
Never knew the price of ice or what swine cost. They came to ask him for at least some new tracks, but only got confronted by the beast with two backs. Knock. Mouse is a made man. Villain laid it down like the best laid plan.
Yeah,
the cat, who the hell
that's
is that
facts.
near the middle? Got y'all, but it's not all bear and skittles. No speaker to English, I only do the math. Felt no pain. His brain was saturated with cocaine and Rogaine. Said try scam, no thing, 3 card dead. Fly man go for bling. He got bled, eye jam over.
Man, so it really sounds like we're getting to that darker edge that Doom's music has later in his career, but it's still kind of like in that transitional phase because he's still rhyming about rather silly things sometimes, but there's a lot of allusions to drugs and how they can really numb you, and Doom's essentially position in the rap game. And it's really hard to like react in an entertaining way for you guys because you're trying so hard to catch on to his bars because every single line is worth, dissecting and understanding, and you're really trying to like think about it, but then he gets 3 more lines out and you're still thinking about the one from the first verse. And this beat was really weird. It was really erratic. It sounds like something that could have been on Food but produced by someone else, which it was, and it really felt like Doom could have sped up his flow, but he kept that same 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 rest. And it's one of those things that makes Doom one of my favorite artists. He takes whatever beat he wants and he does his own thing. He doesn't, conform his style to somebody else. He has his own flow. It works over everything. He's a chameleon, and you take it or leave it, and it's his way or the highway. Track 3 is The Mask.
Mask on crooked, exit stage left with the cash gone, took it off like a goofy. If it was a bit doofy, tried to get screwed with that 2 for you, 1 2 for me. G, come to cranky attitude. This whole thing's rusted, encrusted as the gold rings. The old king's busted. Plan to end global starvation and fat her. Now what incarnation did I go and do that for? The day I took my mask off, my face was missing for 2 days. For the record, G came back a year later, whole new identity. Tony Stark's pedigree, my money green like my nickname was Celery. Who was Ghost who flashed his toast? Never wore sheets but bulletproof coats. Oh no, the fans cried for the mask back on. Told them Ghost is dead. Check me out, my name is Brock, and that's the fact. I got a mom and a dad, and they are all back. It's alright.
It's awesome when Doom works with Wu-Tang members because they can spit a lot faster than Doom, and I'm not saying that makes them better rhymers than him, but it just adds an intensity to these songs and these beats that Doom can't really bring himself just because he's focused on different things when he's on the mic. And there's this kind of like just angry and frustrated delivery that Wu-Tang members can bring that, again, Doom has more of a confident, slick kind of delivery. I love the beat. The benanet, 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 benanet really wasn't something I expected to hear on a Doom album, which I think is what makes it cool. And also the fact that Ghostface was on the track I think is indicative of that. Track 4, Perfect Hair.
Perfect hair to the second power up forever. Asked him do he needed hells, yeah, now or never. On a mission with friends in fair weather. Sooner the better. Off to Mount Tuna where your leather prepared sweater. No more or less stressed than your old boss. The tears burn your eyes less than fresh as curl sauce. And Brenda, the best girl lost. Uncle grandfather beer chest was pearl gloss. Earl toss.
Yeah, a really good song. It felt like more of an interlude because of just how short Doom's appearance was, but I loved the really jazzy, soulful beat, and Doom rhymes over it incredibly well, and that's another thing that you don't expect to hear on a Doom album. His beats are usually grimy, they're really dark, they're just weird is the way I would just really describe them all, and this was a lot more modern to me, so that was pretty cool. Oh.
Poetry's got plenty, la la la. La la la. Jump 'em in like jump rope. Double dutch, then turn on the mic with a thumb stroke. Subtle touch, cuddle clutch. Is this thing on like the fling with Mrs. King Kong? This spring gone. The type to hit and run and go tell a friend. Word to El Moreto, Cucaracha, exoskeleton. He know, flow like interstellar wind. Toe a rap chin by his toe into hell again. 1 2 check, me too. Loose wreck, see through your gooseneck EQ.
Yeah.
Hey, if I may interject, rap these days is like a pain up in the neck.
Well, I don't want to mention that was the most popular song before I started playing it, but I can obviously see why. It's very, very rare that we hear Doom use an actual singer for a hook and uses it to sound good, and It did sound good, but it was really creepy, and I think that that adds to the aesthetic of Doom's music. And I've never heard CeeLo Green used in that facet before. I think the closest would probably be him on Man on the Moon 2 on his feature on the intro. He does a really good job of making that song sound atmospheric, but here, honestly, it really reminded me of a lot of the vocals on Outkast's Aquemini, just the way that they're used to sound like the devil speaking to you, and that was really cool. The 8-bit production was absolutely incredible, man. I can't believe that they're able to make that just distorted bass line sound really good. And of course, I can't say much more about Doom rhyming at this point. It's just Doom rhyming. Track 6, Old School Rules.
1, 2, 3 in the place to be. MF Doom, Talib Kweli. Oh, here we go. On born days, I used to blow out the candles, and every Saturday watch cartoons till noon, and then I switched to Ralph and Daniels. I was gotta have a criminal past, similar to the cast, a different strokes. And we'll be right back after these messages. Fellas, grab your nutsacks, cheeks, squeeze your breasts. We ain't all that grown, it's still funny, like going to the store on your own with rainbow money. Since then, had an insane flow, sonny. Or a weekend afternoon karate movie flick. Slept good, no justice, no peace. Woody kept it hood, he never discussed it with police. Shot the fair when nobody ran to get the gat, or felt they had to put it up in their raps to set it fat.
Man, like, ever since I started listening to Jay-Z more, I'm really starting to see his influence, and I think it's really palpable so far on this project. These celebratory instrumentals, these really maximalist horns and trumpets, and just the way that they're used to make a fun beat. Again, it's just something you never expect to see from someone like Doom especially, so the fact that he's rhyming over these kind of beats is really, really indicative of how influential and how potent Jay-Z was at this time. That said, I'm not taking anything away from Danger Mouse or Doom, because and Talib Kweli, they all came together to create a really good song. And again, I'm just struggling to think of more things to say about it, because it's just another great beat, another great couple verses from Doom, but a really good feature from Talib Kweli. And he did a lot of features during this time, because I really like him on Get 'Em High by Kanye as well.
Where you going then? I'm rocking. Yeah. No, I see that. You tight. All he had upstairs was a crude light. You think that's weird? He lived next door to a food fight. Howdy, danger, much obliged for the guard. Even though you still eat lard by the meat ward. Able to shoot electricity through his eyeballs and blast all through your single-sided brick and drywall. More interesting than professional wrestling. When he's online, you can find him on instant pestering. What's up with your boy? He's not a soft or hot drink. Whoever don't like it could suck his straw. It's hot pink.
Now this is back in Doom's pocket, man. That really felt a lot more like a Doom song to me. I loved the really blunt guitar strings that are underneath of some really nice sounding drums. The dum, dum, dum. When you combine that with the Doom sounds so good, because it's able to create and fill that void while Doom rests in between his lines, because you really need an entertaining beat to create a great Doom hit because of his rhyme scheme. Track 8 is Basket Case.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we all lived through the 70s.
Doom hit the eye in the sky with a pie. String said he thinks he believe he can fly. Spread his wings and flap like a goose. He is the super, a stranger who talks to you. Maybe even offer tech support and walk you through. Villain, man in the mask, spit in the face. Show him where to go inside a handbasket case.
Wow, that was another great beat. I mean, just think about the really cavernous feel of it. I loved the muffled sirens that are super, super silent, but if you can listen really hard, you can just hear them. And the chimes that loop on top of the drums, and just the really, really industrial sounding chinks make it sound like almost a prison anthem. And Doom gives some nice bars regarding that theme, but also him being the villain. And I really like that aesthetic to his music when he's rapping about being the supervillain, because it makes it feel a lot more real. Track 9, No Name.
Why is she black then? No, not in a bad way. It's just to tell them apart, because she's black.
True. Doom rolled on through with a whole crew that stole on you for holding old brew. Who told you? Even if it's crap, mind your own business. They raps ain't got no gift like a lonely Christmas. Real phony with beats that's hardly fresh. And he don't mean coach. Then she saw the mask, acting like she seen a roach. The mirror shine, reflect colors like the CDs. Show love to others, we all brothers like the Bee Gees. All except the broads and you. Catch a rapper by his toe and smack off his tattoos. That's gonna leave a bruise, leave him grieving blues like believing in evening news. shoes.
How does that song have the least amount of streams every track on the album? Like, bringing back a lot of the elements of production that we've seen earlier in the album, but combining them in a very different way. Again, we have an 8-bit kind of instrumental that with the really blunt guitar strings again, and then Doom just rides the beat, and it's so good. I talked about how some of the beats are a lot faster than Doom's flow, and it sounds good, but this one felt like it could have been a bit slower than Doom's flow, and like I said, he's a chameleon. He can go over top any beat, and he really made this one sound better than it is, I think. Track 10, the second most popular song on the album, we got Crosshairs. Oh no.
Pelican with some very soft mangoes, a closet full of skeletons and terry cloth kangos. Flew the coop before you hit it, let me warn you. She did a cool hula hoop, but don't get any on you. It's all a big scam to make y'all eat pig ham. When he's on the mic, he's like the trigger man, Fig Jam. Doom, not to be confused with nobody. Bought it at a chick flick, holding hands. The other one on his swollen glands, a golden chance. Is why he kept them holes in his pants. Rolling in the old van, is what he told his stolen fans.
What's that you were saying?
It is the robotic hymn of doom.
Well, I always say.
I think that was the first song maybe that I've ever heard by Doom where it was a lot more about the beat than it was about Doom himself, because it didn't feel like the lines that he was spitting about were cohesive like they usually are. It kind of just felt like he threw out a bunch of different one-liners that were really good, mind you, but the beat, it just changed throughout the entire song. It was constantly manipulated by Danger Mouse. It was easily, this has to be one of the best beats I've heard. The strings, they go so crazy, like over your head and then under, and then the drums stay the same, but then he brings in some like little synths here and there. Oh my gosh. And I always find Doom working with these producers, and I think about, well, he chooses them very carefully, so they have to be very good for Doom to choose, and I wonder what sounds they're bringing to the table, and this is very different from anything he's, worked with before. They feel less jazzy to me, and they feel a lot more modern, celebratory, and a bit less boom bap, a bit more kind of just fun, is really the best way that I can describe it, and that's cool, because it sounds like Doom is having fun too.
The villain ain't rhyming off bread alone. Let him get some cognac, a mic and a headphone. Smoke and mirrors, caught her in the mix. Couldn't read the shorthand for mortars and bricks. School the dumb on the number one rule of thumb. What a fool, still you never met a cooler bum. Give the drummer some rum, I'm sure he could use a shot just to get his cues hot, so he don't lose his spot. Even had a secretary to take the calls, shake it and make it fall. I told her don't break my balls. Wherever mouse go, trouble follows. The bounty on his fro was nickels and double dollars. He pouts, I'll make mincemeat out of that beat, mouse.
I look like an idiot. Literally, the song that I say that this album doesn't sound boom bap, they bring one of the most boom bap beats I've ever heard. One thing I'm starting to realize is that this album's potential is kind of hindered by the fact that these songs sound more like ideas that Doom just rhymed over instead of really cohesive plans for a song between producer and rapper. Like if you think about songs like Meat Grinder or Rap Snitch Knishes, and especially songs like Rhinestone Cowboy off Mad Villainy, it really felt like Doom and Madlib worked together and were like, okay, this is the premise of the song, this is what it's going to be about. Whereas with these, it really feels like Danger Mouse was just like, here you go, Doom, here's a beat, and Doom's like, alright, I got this verse I thought of, I'm gonna rhyme over it. And I'm not taking that away from either of them, it's just what takes away from replay value and overall quality of these albums, and I kind of hope that maybe these last couple of songs can take away that criticism for me, but that's just kind of how I'm feeling now.
Behold,
Vats of Urine, track 11.
Drink up, bitches!
Everybody talking about pistols, Gats is boring. He came with a new topic to flip you, Vats of urine. All pro, check the stats and style scoring. While you at it, double check that crystal you're pouring. Once it gets ripened and fermented, it takes on a bouquet that I should say is naturally scented. Tempted by an empty can again, so waiting until we get there, say 2 or 3 minutes. Yeah, when it's fresh and sterile. Some say digestible, even edible.
This really reminded me of something, and I've never talked about this on a video before, but one of my favorite things about Doom rapping is that I love how he finds subtle ways to just call out other rappers. The opening lines of the song, at least to me, felt like he was saying, you know, you guys go on the record and talk about, like, shooting people and gun violence. Like, that's lame. Like, why are you doing that? And in some ways, I agree, and I really like the fact that Doom does this without trying to start beef. He's kind of just throwing that out there, like, hey, you should consider that this might not be cool like you think it is. 2 tracks left, we got Space Hose.
How they gave his own show to Tad goes to. Any given second he could go mad postal. Stay waving that power band space cannon. And had the nerve to jump in the face, a race banning. Tonight's audience received mid-screen video games and 15 seconds of fame. Pitiful lames. It's just a shame. Zoning. Competing for the same prime time slot as Conan. And free lunch to any stunt who lets me flower in the shower for an hour. The kid's supposed to be asleep. Wants to join the Silent Rover on a beat beat. Later this week, Big Ben Klingon. After him, there's no one else we could afford to bring on. Keep it ghetto. When it's on. Space holes, coast to coast.
You think I'm just gonna hand over my show to you, Doom?
I just completely take back what I said about the lack of boom bap thing. Clearly, I've just been proved wrong by the past 3 songs. I'm getting overbarred here, so let's just get through this and I'll give my overall thoughts here. Last track is Bada Bing.
Doom. Your reputation precedes you. Wait till you crack and see what we do. You dweeb you. No pun intended. Takes one to know one will know. It's unscented. Yo, son, I mentioned when I said it from the other time. Before everybody and they mother rhyme. Drop a well spit. He didn't listen. Titty kissing the city glisten. Depending on from what position you're sitting in the pissy wind. It's this thin whistling. You know a lot of haters can't wait till he dead. Led to go like a hoe to a strange whack housewife. Only thing he know would change his back door. How trife. Rules is rules. But get the hell from out the pool.
Beef rap. Could lead a getting teacapped. Or even a week for more details on grief crap.
Oh, I miss listening to Doom projects, man. It almost feels like a challenge, especially to be, you know, here in front of you guys kind of giving my thoughts on it, because I feel like I have to bring this in-depth quality of how I feel about it, as Doom is bringing this in-depth nature to his rhymes, his lyricism, and just what he does. It's kind of motivating in a really weird way, but I love that about Doom, and I think that one thing this has really just solidified for me is that Doom revolutionized lyricism, and that's that he proved you can rhyme about anything, and you can do it for extended periods of time and make it cool. And I feel like people took that and made it into a more of a bad thing, because now rappers do rhyme about anything, but they don't do it as well as Doom, because he was able to make it sound clever and make bars out of really simple things. Guys who don't have his level of pen aren't able to do that, so it just comes off really corny. But you can't blame Doom for that, so I think there's props to be given to him for that level of influence. But also, just this rhyme scheme, you see so many people do it now, especially on East Coast rap, which is why I think it's cool that he worked with Czarface, because they use really similar flows to him a lot of the time, and I feel like Doom, you know, allowing them to take that and innovate it is really cool of him, because he's never called anybody out for this. Just because of how unpopular this is compared to his other projects, I wasn't expecting it to continue that high level of quality that I've heard from all of his other ones, but it really did. I probably like this almost as much as Vaudeville Villain. And Danger Mouse, I'm gonna have to hear more beats from him, because some of the really good ones on this project, whew. So I don't usually rate projects, but I'll essentially give where I think this is in Doom's discography. I think it's better than Born Like This, but I don't think it's better than Vaudeville Villain, Food, or Mad Villainy. My favorite tracks are gonna be, let's see here, Crosshairs, Benzie Box. I'm gonna go with Basket Case, No Names, and Sofa King. This has been another Doom reaction. If you guys want me to make more MF Doom content, let me know, because I really backed it off for the reasons I mentioned earlier. But hey, I love talking about this guy. Also, quick shameless reminder, a lot of people that watch these videos specifically are not subscribed, and that's really what motivates me to make these videos. So if you could go down there and just check that you are, I'd really appreciate it. And if you're not, hey, join the club and join my Discord. I left it in the description. Give me a recommendation to react to. What do you think I'd be interested in? And I'd love to hear your perspective. Thanks so much for joining me. I sincerely hope you'll join me next time. MF Doom forever. Happy listening.